Hello, and welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. We're fully staffed today. We found Oren. He was lost last week, but we found him. Don't worry, everyone. But with me today is
I'm Lee.
I'm Sam.
Orin. And I'm Dan.
and we actually have quite a bit to talk about today. So I'm just going to go very quickly over how the teams are looking. For the quiz for the standings, Tigers, no surprise, still in the lead by a lot. They refuse to go on any type of losing streak. They now have a 649 winning percentage, up 6 games against the Guardians and the Twins, who are tied for second place, the Royals, and then the White Sox, who have actually been around the 4-6 mark for the last couple of weeks, it seems like. The standings for the wild card. Everyone's in. The Royals are creeping out. They haven't had the best stretch in the last couple of games. The run differential actually went back to negative. They're struggling. I'm sure Sam will have a thought of that in a
Their
minute.
their their movement is faster than creeping.
Fair enough. I was trying to be polite. Um, I'll never do it again. Um, the ERA, Royals still leading the AL in ERA, Detroit, Minnesota, and then Chicago is actually still above Cleveland because I think they're still covering from a couple bad starts. And then OPS, it's the Tigers, functional, and a whole lot of bad hitting elsewhere in the division. So not probably where we want to see our offenses, and the pitching has been the strength of the entire division. So, but first, Sam, if you can't, if Sam has been giddy for like 4 days now, like a little boy in Christmas, because he went underneath the tree and found what what wasn't there.
Um, guys, I as much as I'd love to bring back a bit from a previous episode, I've got my Walmart fall farmhouse candle right here. Smells quite nice. Don't know where my lighter went. I looked for it before the episode, and similar to my lighter uh, being missing, the Royals are also missing Hunter Renfro. Missing might be a little bit strong of a term. He was designated for assignment this past week, along with a number of other roster moves that we can get into.
Yeah,
But Renfro was shown the door, called up Nick Lofton in his place. But Renfro was pretty, pretty abysmal
yeah, it
in his
was.
2 seasons with the Royals. Was signed in the offseason of 2024. He came in on a 2-year contract worth $13 million. He had a player option for the second year. Last year, he was not good, not terrible, not the worst player ever, and so as a result of that, he exercised his player option and came back. And this year, he was the worst player ever. And we can see that in the fact that he had a negative 1.5 WAR this season with the Royals, and just it wasn't working out. He's a guy. He's on the wrong side of 30. He's never been, the greatest player in the history of the world. He's been a solid major leaguer for a lot of years. Has some power, has some potential, but it just came to the end with the Royals. So it's a move that needed to be made. He needed to be sent away. He has a good arm. He's a bad fielder. He's a bad hitter. So that's about it for Hunter Renfro. And I am glad that I will never have to see his name on a lineup card for the Royals ever again in my natural life. So that's Hunter Renfro. The Royals also made two other moves that I thought were particularly, eye-opening for what this team's trying to do this year, and that is that they optioned Kevin Biggio to Omaha. Biggio was a spring training acquisition. I believe he signed a minor league deal and then ended up making the team out of spring training. He was sent down. He could have elected free agency, or he could have, gone to the minor leagues, but he elected to go to the minors. And then the Royals also designated for assignment Chris Stratton, which was a move that, again, needed to happen. He signed a big contract in the offseason in 2024, and he had I think, I don't remember off the top of his ERA was like above 9. So
Ooh.
he was
Not
Yeah,
terrible.
that's not good.
Yeah, he was terrible. And they called up a couple guys from the minor leagues. So, a lot of moves in the past week for the Royals, getting rid of a lot of guys who were underperforming. And I think that it is obviously a sign that things weren't going great for these guys, that they were all sent down within a week of each other. When you add on to the pile the fact that MJ Melendez was also sent down earlier this year, that's 4 guys who were on the starting roster who are now not on the starting roster,
right.
and we're not even to June yet. And so it's obviously tough, I'm sure, for these guys as human beings to not perform in MLB. But I think for me, what this shows for this Royals team is that this is a different era of the Royals. Because previously, Dayton Moore was the GM of the Royals. We now have JJ Piccolo as the Royals GM. Under Dayton Moore, guys like this would have continued to be trotted out there night after night after night with the excuse of heart,
Yeah.
character, clubhouse, plays the game the right way, family man, stuff like that.
Doesn't watch porn.
Yeah. A
Ex-
golden boy.
exactly.
A slight halo.
Exactly. Are you familiar with Dayton Moore? Because I'm pretty sure that was like a big campaign of his was anti-porn.
Yeah, no, that was
Um,
a huge thing. I still remember it.
Oh, I thought you were joking.
yeah.
Okay, that's
Wait,
an
what? I
actual.
am
That's
out
a
of the loop
real
on
Oh
thing,
this.
huh?
yeah. Oh yeah. Dayton
Okay.
Moore was like a big anti-porno guy.
And
All right.
he sent a memo to every like player and every level of the organization, not making like a rule or something, just letting them know like, hey, you shouldn't, you know.
Yeah,
They're all
Just
like,
you shouldn't. You should not watch porno. Which is ironic. Which is ironic because one of the guys that the Royals called up is named John Rave, and kind of sounds like the name of a porno actor. So, um, yeah. But anyway, uh, those were all the excuses that Dayton Moore would have given for keeping guys like this around.
Hmm.
JJ Piccolo, who is now the GM, seems like he's willing to say goodbye to some of these guys,
Yeah.
and is willing to eat some money. And, when it comes to saying that a guy plays the game the right way, playing the game the right way also is success on the field.
I was about to say being a productive major league player.
Being a
Yeah.
productive major league player. And when you are contributing negative wins above replacement, when you are one of the worst everyday players in MLB, you are not playing the game the right way. So
So
those guys, we have said goodbye, and hopefully we will have at least some young guys who will get some time in the big leagues to build on.
so who are I know like there's the actual replacements, you just listed them, but like where is the hope in Kansas City that you can replace a Hunter Renfroe with negative WAR and a 463 OPS, but who's the actual like, are these decent prospects? Are these just filler types? What's the
Yeah,
hope?
I think, and we can discuss this later. In Kansas City with the Royals, things are deteriorating by the second. The situation's not looking good,
Yeah.
and I think for a lot of us, look, I mentioned uh, Rave. He got called up. He's a 27-year-old rookie. He's by all accounts, probably a 4A player, right?
Okay.
And so I think with some of these guys, they're getting a chance now in MLB because they've been around for a while. And I think that part of it is, look, we have these guys. Let's see what we have. And if things turn around, things turn around. And if they don't, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, whether we build on what we did last year or not, we've gotten rid of some guys that
Sure.
maybe needed to be parted ways with before the year. So I think the hope is that these players have something
Mm-hmm.
and are not active negatives on the team, because it's really difficult when you have someone who is it's one thing for a player to just kind of be blah or meh or not much of a difference maker, but it's another thing when you have, a Kadarius Toney on your team who is, dropping passes into the hands of the opposing team and they're running them back for touchdowns. So uh, I think the hope would be that something happens as opposed to
An, a-
whatever was going on with those guys.
an actual negative. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of another actual negative, the guy who has seen too much, Andrew Vaughn, may he also rest in peace. Oren, how happy are you to see the most surprised man in baseball no longer be on the team?
I'm very happy about it. I'm a little surprised too. Kind of mirrors what Sam just said about, a silver lining being that at least this current regime is willing to trim the fat when it's needed. He might have been a guy. It feels like we've already given him about a year or two too many's worth of plate appearances, but then again, we didn't have much going on in the past couple of years, so it was kind of worth it to see if he could ever capture that prospect prestige that he had.
Mm-hmm.
But glad to see him gone. We weren't going to get anything for him in a trade. He wasn't doing anything at the major league level other than blocking people. He's a first baseman, so he has to hit, and he's just never really been able to hit that well. So
No, a
it's
97 OPS plus for a first baseman.
yeah, and that's
now we want to see.
that's it's 5 seasons, like almost 4 full seasons
Yeah.
worth of plate appearances. So you could safely say that it is who he is. He'll wind up in some other leagues, some other teams' minor league system, I guess. I don't think he'll make a trip overseas quite yet, or who
Well, he
knows?
should still have options, shouldn't he? He got called up pretty young, or no?
He didn't. He skipped spring training because of 2020.
Okay.
It was like a weird COVID thing.
So he doesn't. Does he have options left or no? He was designated for. Well, actually, no,
I
because
think
he would
he
have just
doesn't.
been optioned.
That was the reason that it's taken this long. Is the apologist fans always say, well, he doesn't have any options. Everyone else does, so it's why he's up here. And guys,
Well, actually, it does say he's optioned. So sorry, I'm insane. Sorry, it says at the bottom of the transaction he was optioned
Okay.
to Charlotte. So anyway, it doesn't. He's not a problem anymore.
Yeah, and the best hope is that if some other team sees something mechanically they think that they can do to make someone a serviceable pinch hitter or minor league depth piece, then they'll do that. But like I said, there was no trade value, so it's good to see him gone.
Yeah.
Feel bad for the guy. He never did anything, to upset the fans other than not play that well. But seems like a good surprised guy. So
Yeah.
wish him the best.
Now, Oren, I have a question for you. How does it make you feel that instead of Andrew Vaughn, you could have had Riley Green, you could have had
we gotta play this
CJ
game.
Abrams, you could have had Josh Young, You could have had Alec Manoa. You could have had Corbin Carroll. Or you could have had George Kirby. Or in fact, you could have had Gunnar Henderson. How does that? How do those names make you feel?
Just rubbing that
Of
in.
of all, well, I mean, you could play that with any team with any draft, but of all
Yes,
those,
you can.
Corbin Carroll probably hurts the worst. Riley Green might be second. Um, yeah, he went. I believe it was fourth overall the year that he went.
Yeah, he went third. That 2019 draft was pretty loaded because that was the same draft as Bobby Witt Jr. and Adley Rushman.
Yep. Well,
At the
didn't
time, we didn't. Sox fans didn't even hate the pick, but because it felt like it was addressing a position that we needed addressed, first base DH type at the end of the, bridging the gap after Jose Abreu. So at the time, people didn't really hate it that much. It was risk. He was seen as, since he played college, he was the most MLB ready hitter, and that's
Right.
that's what fan bases want to see. When you get a number one draft pick, you don't want to be like, okay, well, we'll see how he is in 5 years. You want him to kind of be up, and you want to see what they're like right away. So we were kind of excited about that, but obviously did not pan out.
I'm pretty sure Vaughn was a Golden Spikes finalist that his senior year at college too. So he came with accolades. It wasn't that he was.
I think he won it.
He wasn't a reach.
I think he won it, didn't he?
Did he win it? Okay.
Yeah.
The draft in any sport is a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Especially in baseball.
We also
Especially
had
baseball.
Mahomes, but we took Trubisky instead.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is the Bears could have had Mahomes.
Cleveland's own Mitch Trubisky, your future UFL MVP.
26 teams, including the Angels, could have had Mike Trout before the Angels even took him.
Yeah.
The Angels had, I believe it was 2 picks that year, the 26th and the 27th, and they took Randall Grichuk with the 26th and then Trout with the 27th.
Right.
Hey, 30 teams times 8 times over could have had Scooble before he went in the 90.
Right.
Was Scooble from like a northern state?
He played in Seattle.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Guys that don't play like all
Cold
year
other
round,
states,
like,
they don't
in like
like
Florida or Cali or Texas, they get way less exposure. So all the guys that are usually like, oh man, how did everyone miss out on him in the draft? They usually like play up north. Like Trout was
guys who don't have parents rich enough to move them to California or Texas or Florida.
Yeah, that too.
So, he's no longer on the White Sox, but old friend went down for the count. Tim Anderson, DFA'd today by the Angels. Didn't know our thoughts on it.
Hold on. Did you say down for the count?
I did, intentionally.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well,
just checking.
Also, if you look, what team is coming up on the Angels schedule? I wonder. And if you look,
Was it really?
Oh wow.
yeah.
They're in town this weekend.
Wow. Well, yeah.
Old Tim Anderson.
All I'll say is thanks for the Timmeries. There were a lot of good ones. There were a lot of bad ones, but I think there were honestly more good ones than bad because of the way that it ended. Kind of left a bad taste, but he was pretty solid for us for a while.
I highlighted these, but he had a good, like, really strong 5-year stretch.
During that stretch, if you compare that same time span against everyone else in baseball, I would think it's a 4-year stretch where he led the entire league. So
yeah,
that was cool. He produced a lot for us. He played with a lot of energy, a lot of flair. Just said some dumb things sometimes. He had his off the field problems, and he absolutely fell off a cliff when he stopped producing.
I mean, this is just as bad as you can see a player page, like on Savant, just like as a quick. Somehow a good defender. I feel like he was always flirting with good and horrendous defense, but I mean,
He still got good defense this year.
Yeah. But yeah,
he was never very good defensively for the Sox, but he had a good highlight reel. He was one of those guys.
Well, I remember, like, when he first came up, didn't he lead baseball in errors at shortstop?
Yeah, he was a big error guy for a while.
But yeah, then he turned it around for a couple years. Like, just very spotty. But I don't know if I've seen a player collapse, like, with that skill set, collapse so fast. Because he was a high contact. Well, was he high contact?
He's not known for home runs. He led the league in batting average one year.
Like, I've something got lost, and I don't know what it is, but he never found it. So
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else who fell off that quickly and that dramatically. DJ LeMahieu went from batting title to being pretty bad, but that was a pretty more gradual decline.
Right. I was
I mean,
thinking of who was the guy for Baltimore, first baseman.
Oh, Chris Davis, yeah.
Chris Davis, that was another one. But there were like warning signs before then. But Anderson just completely collapsed. So I mean, goodbye, Tim. It was fun while it lasted. Not really.
The Angel. I mean, they also have Moncada right now. They also have Oscar Colas, who we got rid of.
Sure.
And within this week, he used to be a prospect that was hyped pretty highly, and he never blossomed. And then somehow they all wind up on the Angels. Somehow, the White Sox in 2025 are not the last stop on this train line. So at least we've got that.
What's weird about not that he went to go play for teams that would play him, but if I'm gonna have a career resurgence, I don't think I'm gonna pick Miami followed up by the Angels. I'm probably picking, I don't know, better developing teams.
Well, yeah, it's not like he had an option to play on the Dodgers.
I would have taken he took a minor league deal for the Angels, so I mean, yeah, maybe.
I bet every shortstop in the Dodgers system is better than him.
Oh, he has to be. But anyway, it was fun while it lasted. So now Tim Anderson is gone. There's a lot of have we ever had a news segment that is like positive? Because now we got to go into Cleveland, and it's not much better.
I have so much news, so bear with me. And not most of it's not good, like you said. Should I just go?
Yeah.
Start rattling stuff off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rattle it down.
Man.
So let's start with Ben Lively. I don't remember if it was last time we got together or the time before, but this has been a bit of an ongoing thing with Lively where he had some forearm tightness at one point a couple weeks ago, and it was checked out initially, and it was a flexor strain initially, and a flexor strain turned into needing Tommy John surgery real fast.
Yeah.
That was announced about this time last week, probably last Thursday. And so he will miss the next 16 months, give or take.
Yeah.
So basically the next 2 seasons, this season and all next
at
season.
At least this calendar year, and good luck. Hopefully maybe we see him in September next year.
Did they say which kind of Tommy John he's getting? Is he getting the internal brace or is he getting the full blown?
To be fair, I didn't see, so I'm not
Fair
certain.
enough.
But that's a real blow. He was kind of the most productive starter in the Guardians rotation so far this year, and was a really nice value add they made signing him from Korea last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he had team control because he had played so little in the majors. Really good value add, and that some of that's going to be squandered. A lot of that's going to be squandered now.
Yeah.
So we'll see him probably in 2027. Hopefully September 2026. Sounds awful.
Brutal.
This is the first time hearing of this. I haven't seen any baseball news in a week.
I'll say. Because you were evicted from the country for a week, right?
Yeah. I was laying low.
Does it get much better from here, Oren? Where do I want to go? I'm just bouncing around. Slade Ciccone. So Ciccone was brought up because Ben Lively had been put on the IL. He is the pitcher the Guardians got in the Josh Naylor trade, and he had 2 really good starts to start his Guardians tenure, including a victory against the Detroit Tigers on Friday last week. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. But he now is suffering from right growing tightness. That is a direct quote. And so his start has been pushed back. He's not being put on the IL. He was supposed to start today against the Dodgers. And they've decided that they're going to give him today and the off day tomorrow. And then we'll see where we're at. So could be okay. To be determined. In his stead, Colby Allard started today. Somebody I've been a proponent of because all he's done since they called him up about a month ago is throw strikes and quality ones. And I think he pitched 4 innings today. And it got a little rickety in the 4th. He's probably not going to be able to pitch into the 7th at any point in time in the near future. But he kept the Guards in the ballgame, gave up 2 runs in 4 innings, did enough where they ended up having a fabulous come-from-behind victory today. So Allard was the replacement there. Additionally, staying on the starting rotation, Joey Cantillo. Cantillo has pitched out of the bullpen this year so far. He is a former starter, did a little bit of starting last year when he came up. Decent, 3.81 ERA and 28 third relief innings this year. Cantillo was sent down to the minors. I'm assuming they knew something about maybe they're hedging their bets with Ciccone, and they knew what was going on with Lively. He's going to get stretched out. Cantillo is going to be reconverted into a starting role. My understanding, he was disappointed to hear that he was being sent down, but it took the sting out a little bit that they were going to stretch him out. So,
Right.
More to come on him. We'll be seeing him in the future, I imagine, this year. Let's keep it with the pitchers because most of this is pitchers anyway. Hunter Gaddis. Over the course of this week, he was on bereavement for 3 days, and I mentioned it. I mean, he's back. My condolences to the Gaddis family, but the Gaddis was pitched 2 innings on Friday night against Detroit, and then went on bereavement. And I kind of went about that. Just interesting. He's usually a 1-inning pitcher. Comes in the 8th. He's the 8th inning guy. He came in the 7th, pitched 2 innings, and then pitched on his first day, returned to the roster. I don't know. Thought it was noteworthy, worth mentioning.
What are you implying? Are you asking for like proof of death?
No.
You got to bring in the obituary to work tomorrow.
The timing of it just feels like Vogt went, oh, we're not going to have Hunter the rest of the weekend. Let's use him.
I think that's what
nothing more nefarious than that whatsoever.
Are you saying that he hurt Ben Lively and is the reason he had Tommy John and he got kicked out of the clubhouse for 3 days?
I'm not saying that.
All right. But you're not saying that.
Yeah, you did not say that.
I think what probably happened is that Hunter Gaddis went up to Vogt and said, "Hey, boss, it's possible that I might have a relative die soon, and if that happens, could I have some time off?"
Oh, Jesus.
See, now
they just have a good enough relationship that Vogt was like, "Yeah, sure, you can have some time off, buddy."
The absurdity of it is what made me but it sure feels that way because the way he was used.
Maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe you're just reading too far into it.
There's no such thing as a coincidence.
So
thank you, Gibbs.
Let me reinforce my condolences to the Gaddis family now that we've angered them. Seriously. It just, you know what? Great job by Vogt utilizing his resources. Let me just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think we should stop there before we hear ourselves.
Yeah, now we're stopping. We've already gone around the block on this, and now we're stopping.
Well, let me turn it the other way now. Something a little more uplifting. Nick Enright. Yeah. Enright was brought up when Hunter Gaddis went on bereavement. He pitched 2 scoreless innings against Detroit as well over the course of the last week. In those 3 out of 4 games he won against Detroit. And his story is he was a 20th round pick in 2019. One of our better relief pitching prospects, if you kind of consider relief pitching prospects a thing.
Sure.
One of 3 guys that are in the minors this year that I think could be a major contributor. Andrew Walters is the other one. More on him in a second. But Enright was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in December 2022. And despite being a 20th round pick, despite that, he's overcome his diagnosis and got to pitch in the bigs in the last week. So it has the opportunity to seriously contribute to this team at some point this year. So, and he mentioned Carlos Carrasco as an inspiration for him, somebody that had gone through similar, in the Guardians organization. I believe around that exact same time. 2020 or 2021 is when Carrasco got sick. But kudos to Nick Enright. He did give up a monster 3-year home run to Max Muncy yesterday. But other than that, he's looked awesome. And just all the credit in the world to him in the first place for making it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Absolutely.
There's also was something interesting. His debut against Detroit at the park that day, it was Strikeout Cancer Day.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. So, I think they apparently like Comerica announced it and they shared a story type thing. So that was.
That's awesome.
I thank the fine people of the Detroit Tigers for doing that too. That's quite classy, especially for people from Detroit.
They're barely people, I hear.
Is Cancer aware of the fact that it's 1, 2, 3 strikes and you're out at the old ball game?
I don't think they do, but we can
I
remind
don't
it.
think. I don't know. I don't know if Cancer is aware of that.
Yeah. Does anyone remember Devin Smeltzer? Was a soft tossing lefty for the Twins a couple years ago.
I remember the name.
He had childhood cancer, and there I remember it was Jack Morris and Dick Bramer in the booth calling it, and Jack Morris is like, so Smeltzer was diagnosed with cancer as a child, survived it, like barely. Gets to the majors, all that. He's making his major league debut, and for 3 innings, Jack Morris is crying, and like you can hear him like openly weeping about how like happy he is for this kid, and his mom and his dad are in the stands, and it was it was a really nice moment. So good, happy for Nick Emright, but made me think of Devin Smeltzer and a crying Jack Morris.
We joke, we talk about these guys and their production, but it's important to remember they are human beings.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
They bleed just like the rest of us. Let me get through the rest of my laundry list here. A little more recently, in the last day or so, Andrew Walters was called up. That was because Enright was sent back down. Just need to keep live arms. They had used Enright for a couple innings and just needed to keep fresh arms in the pen. I think we'll see Enright again. But Walters, he came up when we did our season preview. Pitched 9 scoreless innings for the Guardians down the stretch last year. Former closer at the University of Miami, rushed successfully through the organization, and I think is another guy that could really contribute to this bullpen. As some of the guys that started the year in the pen haven't kind of performed at the level that we would hope. So, or they've fallen by the wayside, thinking of Seawald getting hurt. So, interesting just what Walters can do in his time up here, but he's got a live arm, and that should be a nice add for now. On the negative side, though, in the last 24 hours, the Guardians have had 2 injuries in their outfield, potentially. Lane Thomas, off injured as it was this year, having broken his wrist earlier in the season. And by the way, struggled when he has been active. He has plantar fasciitis and was being checked out by the doctor today. Was not put on the IL at this point. He was on the lineup card today, on the lineup card in the bench section, of course, but wasn't available. No, I haven't seen any news on what the further kind of prognosis is there, but he's at least not available at this point in time. And plantar fasciitis is it's toes, but it's debilitating. So
yeah, Eric would know a lot about that.
Oh my goodness, Correa's had it on each foot the last 2 years, and the thing that sucks about it is there's no timetable, and it just goes away magically. And you can be off it for a week, it doesn't matter. You can be off it for 3 months, it won't matter. And then one day you'll wake up and it'll be fine, and there's no predicting what it is.
This is really starting to feel like a really snake-bitten year for Thomas, who is a completely adequate quality major leaguer, was good with the Nationals. Not an all-star, but contributing player, traded for last year for the Guardians, and really we're hoping for a strong year out of him, and it's been injuries and ineffectiveness.
Yeah.
So it's a contract year for him too, so I'm sure he doesn't want to be on the IL either, but that's where we're at, potentially. Then the other one, this is my nightmares here. Stephen Kwan exited today's game against the Dodgers, I think in the 4th inning, somewhere in the middle of the game, with right wrist inflammation. They actually found clips of it during the game of him kind of after he swung, kind of favoring his wrist and kind of shaking it out. Don't know anything deeper on that yet other than just that right wrist inflammation. He was, like I said, removed from the game. Nolan Jones took his place and actually had a game-tying single. So, first quality thing we've seen out of Nolan Jones in a while. But to the point that somebody on Guardians Reddit is now saying that Nolan Jones should lead off because every other place he's hit the order, he hasn't been successful. But he's batting 1,000 as the leadoff man. So,
It's the
we're
spot.
going to need one.
Maybe Stephen Kwan isn't that good. It's just the left field.
Maybe it's just the left field. Anyway, Kwan, more to come on that. I'm hoping it's not bad. that would really be a huge blow.
Mhm.
Been our most productive player on both sides of the ball. So
I think the first
This
thing they
team-
would have done would like take an X-ray, so nothing's broken. So if like that's simple and easy to do. So if you
Right.
haven't heard anything about something being broken, it probably isn't broken. Probably it's like a strain or something.
Right.
can the second
Isn't
thing they
too
do
much
be?
better, but
Can the second thing they do be to wrap him in bubble wrap
They
to
could.
keep him safe? Anyway,
it's also an option.
Last one. Thank you all for bearing with me. Shane Bieber. Let's end with some positive. Shane Bieber's is scheduled for a rehab start Saturday, May 31st. For those that are keeping
Yeah.
track at home, that's this Saturday. It's in the Complex League, so it's not not playing the Yankees or anything. But he's going to throw a baseball on a mound, and hitters are going to try to hit it,
Hey.
and that hasn't happened for like 14 months. So baby steps, everybody. Really looking forward to potentially having him back. The rotation sure could use his expertise. So
Yeah.
that is. Oh, and mixed in all that, the Guardians have gone 4-3 in the last 7 days, and all those wins were either against the Tigers or the Dodgers. So
Baseball.
And where did
keep
that
on
get
trucking.
you? Back to 6
Six
games
games.
behind.
I mean, not to spoil it, but it got them 3 wins against the Tigers.
I saw a meme that was because win 3 out of 4 and then lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers, but it was all that for a drop of blood, and you moved nowhere in the standings.
I was like, Lee, can you remind us how the Tigers did against the Dodgers? Any?
Yeah, we got swept. It was miserable. I hated playing them, so I
Here,
have no
has
room to
any-
talk. But
Has anybody else in the division played them yet?
I don't. The Twins haven't yet.
So the Guardians are the only team that's beaten the Dodgers in this division so far.
Take that.
in the banner, we beat the Dodgers 1 time. Go ahead.
It's more
I
than
should
what
get
I-
a banner.
Hey, when we were playing them, they had all these psychic stat boosts because it was opening day, and then it was ring celebration day, and then it was, oh, the banner is being put up. And so the whole team was basically just getting like attack bonuses from that. So, maybe we should, just
Yep.
saying.
Good try. Yes. I
Yeah.
reject your
The
RPG
Dodgers-
footage or theory.
The Dodgers were rolling a lot of nat 20s.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, to continue, unless I think we can leave Dan and let him stop wallowing in some injury.
I can't guarantee no Guardian player has gotten hurt since I started talking, but I haven't heard about it. So please continue.
Also, can't confirm if anyone didn't retire.
Also true.
Detroit, not
Yes.
better.
No, it's a little bit of injury updates and then some mixed news. So first, some injury updates. So Parker Meadows is doing his rehab in Toledo. He's doing really well there. He might return for the series against Chicago that we have coming up, but he won't be in the series for Kansas City for sure. So, but he's doing really well there. Alex Cobb is going to start the mystery box that he is going to start doing rehab soon. I want to shout out Sawyer Gibson Long because he was a pitching prospect for us. He still is a prospect technically. He came up at the end of 23, pitched like 20 innings, and he was doing really well. And then he had to get Tommy John and hip surgery. But so he's a guy that could be coming up soon. He's been doing his rehab in, I think, West Michigan. He's been doing really well. So that's a guy we could see come up soon. Casey Mize, he returned from the injured list. So yay, he did pretty well against the Guardians. I mean, not that it really helped, but he's back. Sean Gunther and Akil Baddoo were both demoted to AAA to make room for various injured guys coming back. These were just the obvious moves. They were the obvious weak spots.
Right.
I don't know why we kept Akil Baddoo up for an extra day because he was not helpful. He had one good defensive day like a week ago, and then since then has been below average in all starts. He's just not an MLB guy. And Sean Gunther has just kind of struggled lately. So, and we have better bullpen guys right now. And then the mixed news. Matt Vierling returned. That was awesome. And then he was up for approximately 3 days and 5 at-bats. And then he's back on the injured list. So it sounds like it's nothing long term or season ending. It's just the same shoulder that was injured is right shoulder inflammation, which I think is code for his shoulder hurts, and there's no discernible reason, but his shoulder hurts. So he's on the 10-day injured list. But in good news, I want to talk about him for a little bit. Wenzel Perez is back from the injured list, and I am very excited about him. He is a switch hitting outfielder type. So he's not the biggest bat in the world, but I want to highlight his switch hitter. First of all, he's the only one on the team now, so that's fun. He can hit from decently well from both sides of the plate. Last year, he had a game where he hit a home run from both the left side and the right side in the same game. So he was the first Tigers rookie since whoever in 1996 to hit home runs, blah blah blah, etc. etc. But he's fun. He's a really fun young player. He has his Stevens isn't great, but he's a really good base runner, and he puts together really good at bats. So I have up his pitches per plate appearance is 4.13, and MLB average is 3.88. So pretty decent, especially for a rookie to have that kind of plate discipline and such. And what was really fun, in his first plate appearance back, he hits a home run.
Hey.
So that's really fun. So I'm excited for him to be back. I don't know realistically how long he will stay at the major league level. We get Parker Meadows coming back and Matt Vierling coming back, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of happens there. But he was a really important bat for us. Came in clutch a lot for us last season and in the postseason last year. So it's good to have him back, even though Matt Vierling is going back into purgatory again.
I mean, it's not great because it's the same injury, correct?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's never positive news.
No, but yeah, Hinch said that they weren't worried about it being long term or season ending. So cautiously optimistic on that, but
Did he go on a rehab assignment? He did, right?
he did go on a rehab assignment, and he was doing good there. He was there for like a few weeks. It wasn't like they brought him back super quickly. But yeah, I don't know. There's nothing super official on it. It's just right shoulder inflammation, and probably not long term or season ending.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I think that begs the question: to define long term.
yeah. Like, is it going to be another
season left?
Is it going to be another month, a month and a half? But I don't know. I mean, he's only on the 10-day IL, so who knows? But yeah, we haven't gotten like anything too, defining of what it is. It's just shoulder inflammation.
Yeah. Well, I'll take it over. Somehow the Twins have the least amount of injury news, so that's really exciting for once. They have two guys that are on the IL that really well. They have three, but Danny Colom's a reliever who's been really good, but he's a reliever. Buxton is still on the concussion IL list. He's traveling with the team. Seems like any day he's going to get activated. He does have a history of concussions. It's I think at least his third one that they know of. So MLB will not clear him until, obviously all the tests are done. So that's
what happened? Did you run into a
Oh,
wall?
you didn't see. It was Carlos Correa and Buxton collided.
Oh no, I saw that. That was
Yeah, it was a real rough landing. Buxton still held onto the ball because he's a maniac. Still an out. And then Matt Wallner has been on a rehab assignment last week. He's hit 3 home runs. Has looked really good. I think he's playing in the field tonight, which would be his first day back-to-back playing in right field and on rehab assignment. So the Twins are off tomorrow. Might be activated when they play in Oakland on Friday. That would be actually a big boost, I think. If people aren't familiar with Matt Wallner, he has been sneakily their best hitter in the last year and a half. If he wouldn't have been injured, they could really use a boost in the lineup because the lineups they've been putting out have not exactly been stellar. So I just picked a game earlier this week. It happened to be against the Royals, and I just took the average slash line of that lineup, their slash line for, again, it's just a random day, but this will give you an idea of what the lineups have been look like. A 224 average, a 290 on base percentage, and a 354 slugging percentage. That is an OPS of 645. Great.
That sounds like it could be league average. It's so confusing in this era trying to figure out if the hitting slash line is good or not.
Well, let me tell you, it's around a 70 OPS plus if that was a player. Let me give you some names of some 70 O plus players that have played for this division. Lou Marston, Andrew Romine, Gordon Beckham, and Cam Gallagher.
Those are 3 backup catchers.
Yep.
And Gordon Beckham.
The 2025 Minnesota Twins, everyone. We're as good as backup catchers now. And even the Twins' backup catcher is, I think, at like a 46 OPS plus. So not the best.
Well, hey, I believe Cam Gallagher's first hit was a grand slam, so.
And then nothing else.
And yeah, hey, he was decent for a couple years for a backup catcher.
I had fun looking that up, but there is one really nice exception in that list. The one that doesn't make that list completely crumble because Cody freaking Clemens is probably bought himself a 2 or 3 year like extended career. 29 years old. Former, he was drafted in the 3rd round by the Tigers back in 2018. Has been like your classic journeyman infielder. The Twins got him on a waiver wire trade. Don't know how much money it was, but it was money well spent because he has done his slash line for this year, 274, 366 with a 629 slugging percentage. Cannot tell you how good he has been. Now, what the difference is that he's done last year, when he's asked, he said, I've changed nothing, which is not what you wanted to hear. You wanted to hear, yeah, the Twins had me made my foot up 6 inches here. I got rid of this. I did that. But nope, he's feeling good. So that's not what you want to hear. He is hitting.
That's some bad media training right there.
No, isn't it, though? He could have thrown someone a bone.
Yeah, you can just say I made some adjustments. That's like the easiest thing in the world to say. Nope. Like, because no one can prove otherwise.
He feels fine, guys. That's it.
Even say like, "Oh, I'm thinking about my at bats differently." Something so you can't prove that. You can't get in here like nothing.
See ball, hit ball. What he has done differently this year, he has a career 46% hard hit rate. He's now hitting 64% for hard hit rate. And that's a ball that is hit above 95 miles an hour. But this is the cold water. He has a 400 batting average in balls in play. League average will probably be around the 300 mark. There's some regression that is due there. But you can't take away the 5 home runs for him. He has saved their ass the last week, which is really weird to say. Cody Clemens has been the MVP the last month.
Yeah, I would like to note his highlights with the Tigers were striking out Shohei Ohtani as a position player pitching and being traded with Gregory Soto to the Phillies for Matt Vierling. So that was the best contribution he did with the Tigers. He was not good.
I was when I was looking this up today earlier, I had a little fun fact I didn't realize I was going to find. There have been 2 Codys that start with a K in Major League history. Both of them play for the Twins this year.
Surprising there weren't more.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And like, there's 23 minor leaguers, but yeah, if you look on Baseball Reference and you type in KODY, it's Cody Clemens and Cody Thunderberg. Just a weird anomaly.
That's a cool name.
If
that's one
not
of those things where you have to spend your entire life telling people it's Cody with a K.
With a K.
Thunderberg sounds like a Jewish wrestler.
Maybe it is. He has long flowing hair too. Got that wrestler's hair. The other positive, Carlos Correa, looks like Carlos Correa again. He's hitting I think he has an 800 OPS in his last 10 games. It's sorely needed because boy, did he not look great for the first 6 weeks of the season. Anything they can get from their, I don't know, a guy who has 25 to 30% of the team's total payroll, really need him to hit. So he's turning it on. It's been good. Small news. It came out in the last 2 days. The Twins are still up for sale. They've been showing rich dudes around the stadium. Depending on what report you want to look at, they're either not thrilled with the price, which obviously we talked about. They still have the $425 million of debt on the books, which I still don't believe is completely baseball operations. And maybe the Polad's commercial business business may be leaked into the Twins, but who am I to say? But the one quote they did say, they are closer to the end than the beginning.
Okay, Winston Churchill.
Yep. I was about to say, the beginning of what? When you bought the team in '84? Because then we have a ways to go still.
Thanks. That's sufficiently vague.
As a poor, right?
Yes.
As a
peons,
member,
yes.
As a member of the Great Unwashed, I really want to know what those meetings look like. I would love to be a fly on the wall as you're taking someone on a tour of Target Field trying to convince them to buy the Twins. I just want to know what that looks.
What are the selling points for selling a sports team?
You get to own a sports team.
That's it. Literally, you just said the sentence.
They're probably all talking about it in terms of an investment, which long enough timeline, all these teams are investments.
Right.
But baseball's one of the easiest sports to make money in because there's 81 home games every year, and there's concessions and everything else.
Well, tell that to all the MLB owners crying poor at this point.
Yeah,
and the poll has $400 million of debt. Apparently,
anyone trying to buy the Twins is definitely very interested, but they're going to do whatever they can to pay as few dollars as possible, down to the cent,
Which is why it's really a shame that Justin Ishbia pulled out, because he did not seem to he had FU money. They all have FU money. Let's be honest. But he, even for people with FU money, had capital FU money. And he was going to buy it for whatever. Now they do. It sounds like they have multiple bidders, and they've turned down a $1.5 billion offer. That sounds ridiculous to say out loud, but they've turned it down. So you just need two rich dudes that really want to buy a team, and these don't come up for sale often, to get their 1.7.
When you have
there's
that much
a big
money,
difference between what we think of as FU money and what people like that think of as FU money.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wide margin.
I mean, when you have that much money, what's the material difference between 1.5 and 1.6 billion dollars?
Just for us, it's a score
for us.
For them, I mean,
it's having more for them. It's pride. They want to get the best deal. It's ego. I don't want to spend one more. I'm gonna get a good deal on this. That's what it is.
Money, it literally isn't even the same thing for us as it is for them.
No,
a different universe. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if I ever become one, though, I'm going to change my tune entirely.
There will be signs, is what you're saying. You'll have a gold-plated hat. Anyway, I like how you guys all talked about injuries, and I felt like I brought the group down the most, talking about how we'd have no money, and the Twins are still up for sale. Sorry, guys. We can move on to a really exciting topic.
At least you have your health, Eric.
Well, let's hope for now.
Your baseball team does.
That's a ticking time bomb, and you know it. Let's move on to a much better subject for Cleveland. They played Detroit last week.
We could skip the first 3 games.
I don't think we should. This is real fun.
All right, yeah.
Let's talk about it. Lee and Dan, talk about the wonderfulness that was.
I'm sensing
I-
some bias over here. Jeez.
I feel like I'm a little more exuberant about this, so I'll start. First 3 games of the series went swimmingly for the Guardians. Starting with game 1, I got on this podcast last week, and the question came up of in this series, kind of who needed to step up on the Guardians side of things, and I said Tanner Bybee needed to pitch like an ace, and he did. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, no runs. He was fantastic. Probably his best performance of the season, and was a big component to what allowed them to get a 7-0 victory in game 1. A little bit of help from the Tigers late in that ball game to extend the lead, but can't score if you score 0. So feel good about the Guardians' performance there in general. Game 2, got an opportunity to scratch out some runs against Job before he got settled in, and he got settled in very nicely, admittedly, once we got deeper into the ball game. But got a couple runs on him in the first inning. Again, I mentioned Slade Ciccone up front. He was also awesome in this game. And then Stephen Kwan hit an RBI insurance run in the 9th. He had 3 hits on the day. I sure hope he isn't hurt because perfect example of his contributions there. Game 3 was a strong come from behind victory after 2 days getting out and jumping ahead of the Tigers. So I will say this was where the Guardians starting rotation inconsistency started to rear its ugly head. Luis Ortiz walked a lot of guys. I think it was 5 in total. But bullpen came in and kept the Guardians in the game. Matt Festa, Joey Cantillo, Cade Smith, Tim Herron all had scoreless innings. And the ball game went to the 10th as the Guardians were able to come back and then put together a 4-run 10th inning.
Yeah.
Most impressive of that was the opposite field double Kyle Manzardo had in the 10th. Hit the ball to the warning track the opposite way. Good piece of hitting. Drove in Jose Ramirez for the go-ahead run.
Of course, there's Jose Ramirez too. Like, I think he was
as well.
I think he was a Manfred runner, but like even still, I'm like, God damn it! Of course, it's Jose Ramirez.
And then Game 4 was on the Roku channel, and nobody could be bothered to watch it anyway, so that one doesn't even really count. No, seriously, Tarek Skubal was. I've used a lot of exemplary language for how the Guardians' pitching was. Skubal was even better. He was incredible.
He was insane.
Complete domination, complete game shutout, and Logan Allen on the other side of things fell off the tightrope in the 4th inning. Scattered a bunch of runners in the first 3, couldn't get out of the 4th, and there's your ball game. Overall, though, I feel good about the Guards' performance against the best team in baseball. 1 3 out of 4. Hello, that's great, particularly on the road. Was a good statement by them. And honestly, you're going to lose games to Skubal, but
Yeah, you are.
outside of that, part of me feels great about it, and part of me feels like this team is sandbagging it a little bit. And they decided, we're playing the Tigers. We need to show up and show out, and we did, and they did. But I don't like operating that way. I think trying to flip a switch like that is dangerous. And I mean, I'm speculating, but it sure felt that way with kind of how they've sleptwalked through part of the season defensively and pitching wise. Sure. So I sure hope I'm wrong on that, but it feels like a little bit of that.
We should also mention before we actually watched that game, like streamed it. So I don't know why anyone would. So maybe look out for that for the future. We'll just randomly stream games just because we wanted to talk baseball, and that was when we got the Skubal start, who was definitely not perfect for the first couple of innings. He was dominant. How many? Lee, you'll get into it in a bit.
I will talk so much about it. Thank you.
Well, there's your segue then.
Yeah, so I'll start with the first 3 games, and then I can talk about Skubal for 10 minutes straight. I'm just kidding. So for full disclosure, for the first 2 games, I was at work, and I could not actually really watch these games. But this is what I've gathered from
Fair weather fan.
Oh, shut up. All right, so game 1, Call me crazy, but it was closer than the score looks. The Tigers were able to get some hits and they could get on base a few times, but they were like 0 for 15 million with runners in scoring position because of course they were. Jack Flaherty was fine. I mean, he gave up 3 runs, but again, it's not going to do shit when you can score a grand total of 0. So
was game 1 the game where you guys loaded the bases and then Cade Smith
yes, that was the game where bottom of the 8th.
I can't believe
loaded. Cade Smith comes in.
How did I forget about that? That was the highlight of my week.
No, I mean,
came in and destroyed everybody.
Yeah. Tigers got runners on after a couple of I think it was like a walk and then like a bloop single that Thomas missed and then like another hit or something.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter because we didn't do shit with it because Cade Smith comes in and strikes out all 3. I mean, you got to give the Guardians credit and Cade Smith credit, but it also feels like the Guardians were like, oh, here's some opportunities. And the Tigers went, thanks for that. And then shot themselves in the foot 17 times.
I'm pretty sure it was the top of the order, too. He came in and struck out the side.
Yeah, I think the last one was green. I know.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, the Tigers had opportunities. They just couldn't do anything with it. And then they were like, oh, we made it close, top of the 9th. Here you go. And made like 4 defensive errors in the top of the 9th that they scored. So the Guardians scored a few more runs. But I mean, yeah, same story for game 2, basically. Job struggled a bit for the first inning, but then really settled in. And I mean, a bullpen gave up 1 run. Job gave up 2. But again, that doesn't mean anything when you only score 1 run. So whatever. Game 3, this one, we started off the scoring and then just couldn't score anything and then gave up. I think it was entering the 7th. And the broadcast booth, it's the national broadcast. We had Benetti on there, but there's also, I forget who the other guy was. And they're like, oh, the Tigers are 26-1 when leading entering the 6th inning. And I'm like, oh, so we're going to lose this game now. And then we did. I want to talk a little bit about, top of the 9th, Will Vest comes in, has a 1-2-3 inning against the top of the order. And it's like, oh, this was really good. I think it was like 11 pitches total because he came into the top of the 8th for the last out as well. And I was like, bottom of the 9th, all 3 went out, but it was tied going into the 10th. I'm like, okay, so maybe we can actually win this. We're not great with the Manfred runner, but, and then I watch as Brennan Hannafy gives up 4 line drives and the Guardians score 4. And at first, I missed that it was Hannafy in instead of Vest for some reason. I was like, wow, Will Vest is giving up a lot of hits. But I was like, wait a second. That's Brennan Hannafy. Why is Will Vest not still in this game? Mm-hmm. So that Hinch does a really good job in managing the bullpen. But I think that one was a mistake. I mean, what the hell do I know? Maybe there was some lefty-righty matchup he liked. Maybe there was Brennan Hannafy's really good at ground balls usually. Maybe he wanted to keep it in the infield so the Manfred runner doesn't score. I don't know, but the point is we didn't keep Will Vest in. We gave up 4 runs, and then we scored 2 in the bottom of the 10th. I mean, it was off the Manfred runner and a hit by pitch, but we still scored 2 off of Class A. So there's something.
I just need to say this is the first time I've ever heard someone refer to that as the Manfred runner.
Really?
Oh, really?
Really?
I heard that all the time.
I've heard that all the time. Yeah.
That needs to be the official name.
Oh, it's that.
I thought it was. What do you call it?
The Ghost Runner.
Oh, the Manfred man.
I like calling it the Manfred runner.
Ghost Runner is from when you're playing kickball in elementary school.
Yeah, or when me and my sister would play baseball in the backyard, we'd always have just the ghost imaginary one.
It's more of a zombie runner than a ghost runner, really.
Right.
I mean, that's why it's stupid.
I hate
it sounds like something that we would make up in the backyard or like an old men's softball league or
little league. Let's get this game over with.
I don't hate it. I just wish they wouldn't put him on second right away. Just put him on first and then gradually move the runner.
You can't do it first because if you do first, then you can get 2 outs in 1 pitch to start off the inning. That's not fulfilling the idea of let's move the game faster.
So the 10th, he's just on first. Then the 11th, move to second. third or the 12th, whatever, the next inning third, and then just start adding a runner until the bases are loaded, and somebody has to do something.
I say 10th and 11th play straight up. And then once you get to the 12th,
Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's when you deploy the ghost runner.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah,
But it has to be Rob Manfred himself.
Yes.
I say
With those tiny little legs.
I say you just start
Yeah.
you start bases loaded, but all the base runners have blindfolds on.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me that wouldn't increase viewership.
There
Not
you
for the
go.
runners.
What if instead of adding runners, you removed infielders? Like instead of you can't have a sec, or you have to remove one defender.
You take one player away from the defense every inning.
Yes, then more. If you couldn't play with a shortstop, more runs would score, right? Like that's just.
Or give a team a chance. They could either choose to sacrifice an out to move a runner up a base, or to take an opposing player's position player off the field.
Mm-hmm. I've always had an idea that in basketball, once you get to overtime, every free throw has to be shot by the coach.
It's actually a good idea.
Is it?
The coach, every free throw, the coach has to come out and shoot free throws.
I've seen in the NFL for overtime, instead of a coin flip, the head coaches arm wrestle for whoever goes first.
I think the coaches should do rock paper scissors, because I want to hear Jim Nance and Tony Romo go, Jim, Andy Reid usually goes with scissors in this situation. Let's see what happens.
Oh,
or Dan Campbell's gone for the rock 3 times in a row. Do you think he's going to mix it up this time?
All right, we're getting out. We're bringing this back around.
Reel it in, Eric. Reel it in.
All right. But back to Game 3. That game made me angry. I went to bed. I fell asleep watching Forensic Files. I slept for 10 hours. I woke up angry. That game, that game pissed me off. But the story for the first 3 games was really Guardians didn't make mistakes, and if they did, Tigers couldn't capitalize. And Tigers, you got to give credit to the Guardians because they played us very well, and their pitching pitched us very well. But also, I think the Tigers just shot themselves in the foot with a full magazine. So that was very frustrating to watch.
The Guardians did exactly what they always effing do. Nothing until the 7th inning. And then they get a guy on, it's either the 7th or the 8th inning, whether it's Quan or Ramirez or a guy who has no business holding a bat, and they're just going to chip away at a lead, and then they take the lead in the 9th, and they get away with it too much. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so now the Tigers are 26-2 when leading in the 6th inning or later. Thanks, Guardians. Thanks, broadcast, for bringing that up. Sorry, I'm just that game really pissed me off.
I'm sorry for your 98% win percentage in that scenario.
Yeah, I know that was a stupid statistic to bring up, and I'm like, thanks. And then they brought it up in the 9th. They were like, oh, it's a tied game now, and I'm like, thanks for rubbing it in. So that was annoying.
I think that was it. It was a 3-game sweep. I think we got to move on to the next game.
No, let's talk about Game 4. Stop it. Let's talk about Game 4 because that was amazing. Skubal completely dominated, and that's not. I know I tend to overhype Tigers players maybe a little much, but it's not an exaggeration to say that Skubal had probably one of the best pitching performances you will see this year. Game score wise, which is a method of giving scores to pitching performances, it is the best since the perfect game a couple of years ago by the Yermain. Yeah, so it is. He had a Maddox.
You can't remember his name either.
Yeah. Well, I don't try to remember random Yankees pitchers. So. Well,
there you go.
So, let's see. He pitched a complete game shutout in 94 pitches, which, in case you don't know, that's called a Maddox. He broke the record for number.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Is it called that?
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that before.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
All right. Well,
Cook. I'll stop interrupting you.
Completely broke my rhythm there, but all right. But he broke the record for the most number of strikeouts in the Maddox. He got 13. The previous record was 12. So in case you don't know, so Maddox is the idea is few pitches as possible. You get lots of first pitch swings, and you get lots of pop outs, ground balls. Not Derek School. He's like, no, I'm just gonna strike everyone out.
Yep.
He had 2 hits, 1 hit by a pitch, 13 strikeouts, and 0 walks because he is insane and he hates walking people. I was going to bring this up. But no, I won't pull it up now because I should have done it earlier, but I won't. His current strikeout to walk ratio is insane. It is by and far way higher than anyone else because he loves to strike out guys. He doesn't like walking. This is a couple records, more records broken. So this is all in terms of since StatCast was being tracked, right? So 2008. This is his final pitch. His 94th pitch was a 102.6 fastball to get the strikeout number 13. That is the fastest strikeout pitch by a starter ever recorded. And like stuff could have happened before 2008. We started keeping track of that. Fastest pitch by a starter in the 9th inning or later, previously held by Justin Verlander, and he cleared it by a good mile per hour. It was previously 101.7, I think. So he cleared it almost by a full. And is also the fastest pitch thrown by a left-handed starting pitcher. I believe that's tied with Hunter Green. But so fastest pitch thrown in his career, 102.6. I think he had this game circled on his calendar for the past 7 months. Yeah, he was absolutely dominant. I don't think there's much argument for that. He was, when told that he broke the record for like number of strikeouts in Maddox, his response was cool. That's all he had to say for that.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I
think
I was just going to say on Scooble real quick, 2 things that came to mind reliving that as Lee was talking about it. First, yes, he absolutely had 12 Ks, but I remember remarking about it when we were watching the game. Guardians were swinging early because he was pounding the strike zone. That's credit to him. Like, he not only was he in the zone, but he was unhittable in the zone. Like, just to kind of speak to his success.
He got 26 swings and misses. He threw 22 balls.
That's ridiculous.
Cleveland's expecting batting average that game was 117, and I thought that looked high.
And remember, this is a team with a reputation for ball and play.
Yeah.
These are slap hitting goblins that Guardians.
That's a bit mean.
That's a turn of phrase that gets thrown around, and it's not a pejorative. It's not one I'm particularly thrilled with, but that it's a thing.
The infield single should be banned. Guardians are so.
Good things happen when you put the ball in play. I did, and then the other thing I was going to say is, to that point, Gabriel Arias had possibly the worst at bats I've seen successfully, like 3 in a row. Just ugly, and I believe he ended the game, but that wasn't against. Actually,
he ended the game. It was his 3 pitches that he all swung on was 99 up in the zone, 90 change up. And then 102.6.
I complimented Stephen Vogt's decision making earlier in this show. Vogt, next time we face Scooble, let's keep Arias on the bench, please. That was brutal.
It's possible that Scooble had a subdued reaction to being told that because he didn't know that a Maddox was a thing.
We got to get Sam a baseball dictionary. The Manfred Rucker, the Maddox.
Yeah, I think you're the odd one out here.
I think we're trying to make fetch happen.
Maddox has
been a thing.
It's been a thing for a long time.
It is a thing.
Okay.
For that,
all right.
Well, it's been a thing since
I'll
Maddox.
tell you this. All I know is that Tarek Skubal is on my fantasy baseball team this year, and he had like 90 points from that start. And my team is named Scooble Diving this season. So I'm very it's a double-edged sword. My relationship between Maddox.
See?
Yeah, we got you.
You're really mad, didn't you?
I swear to drunk, I'm not God. My relationship with Scooble and is a bit of a double-edged sword.
I think when we're going to Kansas City next, I think it's going to be Bubich and Scooble on the same day. That'll be interesting. I mean,
That game will take 45 minutes.
That game will
it's
be
going to be 27 strikeouts between the two of them.
I know
It's gonna-
when we were doing the season previews thing, at one point Lee said, "I think we can all agree that Scooble is the best pitcher in baseball," and I think a few of us were like, "He's really good. He's up there." What I said was like, "Yeah, I can't think of anyone better, but I need like a little bit more of a sample size. You know, show me that you can do it 2 seasons in a row. You know, there's a lot of times where random starting pitchers will go off and be really good for a year, and then it's kind of, you know, it flames out for whatever reason. The hitters adjust to them. Their velocity isn't sustainable, whatever it is.
Yep.
Now I think I've seen enough. I think he gets that title until proven otherwise. You know, at least definitely in the AL.
I'm going to highlight a couple of his stats, just because you can't. His current strikeout to walk ratio is 13.1. The next guy on that, this is for the entire MLB, is 8. That is Joe Ryan.
Yeah.
There's a 5 difference between Scooble and the number 2 strikeout per walk ratio. Let's see. Scooble has almost given up as many home runs as walks, because he's given up 7 walks and 6 home runs. He has 92 strikeouts. Which leads the American League. That is on pace to be like 250, which would beat last year's by a lot. He currently leads AL in strikeouts per 9. He currently leads the MLB in FIP. I mean, he's insane right now.
Yeah.
His first 2 starts were a little rough. I mean, the second one really because of Colt Keith error that wasn't counted as an error. But I mean, he's insane. He's just on a different level.
Enjoy it while you can.
Oh yeah.
And not to rain on your parade, Lee, but the fact that in the recent MLB or the ESPN.com MLB writers recently voted Chris Bubich as the AL Cy Young favorite says a lot after you just read off all that.
Did that happen?
Yeah. ESPN.com put out an article where they had their MLB writers vote on the various awards. I think it was because we're a third of the way through the season. And Bubich was voted as the AL Cy Young favorite.
There's a difference between favorite and if it ends today, if the season ends.
Yeah, that's true. Is it favorite or if it ended today?
Sure. And again, these are national media writers.
Right.
I'm not going to,
also
ESPN, but
it's such clickbait these days.
Sure. But it says a lot that was the result of that poll.
But also, like, Bubich is not out of place in that conversation either.
No, he's not. He's really good.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not. He's been amazing this year.
So,
and then in terms of Tigers' offense, we got on base a lot against Allen, but we could only score on 1. But I mean, that was enough, obviously. 5 runs in I think it was the 5th inning or the 4th inning, whichever. It doesn't really matter. Offense isn't the story there. It's Scooble being an absolute monster. Yeah. So I think I talked about him enough. But this is what I wrote for the summary. Overall, the infield single should be banned. Tigers cannot hit Guardians pitching to save their lives, but Scooble had statistically one of the best / most dominant pitching performances of the last few years. So who really won?
The Guardians.
Well, nah. Sure, okay. They won, but did they win? Is it a moral victory?
Honestly, we won the series.
The real win is the Scoobles we made along the way.
Exactly.
I don't like how that sounds.
And the amount of ready pizza everyone in the state of Michigan should be buying because Boris's asking price just went up. It's a separate conversation. But, anyway, what were you?
We won the series, but since then, so we were talking about, oh man, the Tigers, once they face some adversity, man, let's see what happens. Okay, we beat them 3 out of 4, and guess what? They won 4 straight. They're 6 games over.
Yeah, we just swept the Giants. So
was that enough adversity? Probably not. But they passed the first test. So
Yeah.
credit to the Tigers.
Now they got to lose 4 in a row, and then they're going to win 5 in a row. That's the Twins way, right?
No, it's
Ouch.
it's not just. Oh, she's not wrong. I wish it was win 5, lose 4. I wish it was that streaky. But when it's lose 10, win 12, like that's when it really you go through some stuff. Speaking of, that wasn't the only series that was played over the weekend. So we can talk about Casey in Minnesota and all of the walk-offs you could possibly ask for, which is good because the Twins are at home for me anyway. So, what were your first thoughts? Because this was an exciting series, but also a lot of nothing during a lot of those games.
Yeah, I think that evaluation is pretty accurate. Look, I will. My family, we have a group chat where we talk about the Royals. And after the first game between the Royals and the Twins, they lost on a walk-off home run by Ty
By
France.
France, yeah.
And after that happened, my dad texted in the group chat and he said, "What a waste of time."
Well,
And I think a lot of this series between the Twins and the Royals felt like what a waste of time
right.
because most of these games were pretty uninteresting.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these games just came down to the random, you know, baseball gods' whims. And it was a lot of the Royals kind of not being able to seal the deal. And then you got to the final game, and the Royals just miraculously were able to score a run
Yep.
in
In
extra
the 10th.
innings. In the 10th, the Manfred runner was able to score for the Royals, and the Twins were unable to do so. So, it's one thing to watch a bad team. It's another thing to feel like I could be doing something else right now
Yeah.
other than watching this game. I could be spending time with my family or, being outside or, various other things. So I think my dad's quote of what a waste of time is pretty accurate when it comes to this series between the Royals and the Twins.
So just to kind of clarify, and this is going to be true for every series that you're going to have more unscored innings than runs scored, but all of the runs in the series were scored in 6 separate innings, and that's it. The Twins, so game 1, they were tied 1-1 after the second inning, a run apiece in each inning, then a walk off. And then after the second inning, nothing until Ty France walked it off with a home run in the 9th. The second game, Casey went up 4 runs, I believe, back-to-back innings, so 7 innings. And then the Twins had 5 unanswered runs. Brooksley then got a seeing eye single that just squirted through the infield. That thing couldn't have, I don't think it was 70 miles an hour. It barely got through. And then in game 3, the Twins score 1 run in the first, the Royals score 1 run in the 7th, and then get the Manfred runner over in the 10th. A lot of nothing. A lot of good pitching. Noah Cameron, I thought, looked really good for the Royals that first game.
Can I talk about Noah Cameron, please, for a minute here? Noah Cameron has been an aberration.
Yeah.
He pitched tonight against the Reds. In his first 4 starts, he has pitched 6+ innings in every single start, and he has given up 1 run or less in every single start. The Royals He's lost 2 of those. The Royals have.
Yep.
St. Joe native Noah Cameron deserves better. And
I just
Now, if
found
he
the
was a
stat.
Kansas native, would he deserve better?
well,
You have to think about this. This says a lot.
Bubba Starling was a Kansas native. So, no, and like obviously I live in St. Joe, not for much longer, but as of right now, I live in St. Joe. He, so the first game he pitched, our news director at my news station, Noah Cameron texted him the night before saying, I'm going to get called up. So,
That's
like,
awesome.
I picked him up on my fantasy baseball team as a result of that.
Insider trading.
No.
Insider trading, but that's okay. No one listens to this.
It's gonna get found 15 years from now.
Tomorrow night, the St. Joseph Mustangs, who are a minor league baseball team that play here in St. Joe, they're like a college league, like for college players to play in the off season. They're having Noah Cameron night tomorrow. And Noah Cameron's parents are throwing out the first pitch.
Wow.
So the statue's already being built outside the stadium. Is that what you're saying?
Noah Cameron never played for the St. Joseph Mustangs.
Oh my god.
Wait, what?
He was
Did he skip a level?
so he was supposed to play for the Mustangs, but his college said no. Because Oren, it's a league for like college players to play in
Is
the
this like
off
the?
season.
Is this like a college summer
Oh,
league,
I thought this was
like
like
the
a
Cape Cod
like
league?
It's
a
a
affiliate.
got
yeah, no. It's a college summer league is what it
Oh,
is.
oh, that's
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah. So it's not like it's minor league baseball, but it's just like summer league really is what it is. What he has meant to this town in just a couple games is like second to none.
Mhm.
So
Everyone's talking about it.
everyone's talking about it. When he made his debut, it was like the biggest thing that happened in St. Joe since
The naming. of
Jesse
St. Joe.
James got assassinated. Like
By
St.
the
Joe is
coward
known
Robert
for
Ford.
St. Joe is known for 2 things. Pony Express, Jesse James assassination.
3 things now.
3 things now. So yeah, it's the fact that he is doing as well as he is and is from St. Joe and is, a local guy. Like I think most people from Kansas City would say, "Oh, St. Joe, it's local. It's 40 miles away."
Sure.
Like we on the Kansas City Chiefs, we consider Nick Bolton, who's from Texas and went to the University of Missouri and doesn't even say Mizzou in his Sunday Night Football player intro. He says his high school. We consider him a local player because he went to Mizzou. Noah Cameron's a local player. And the people of Kansas City need to get over themselves. So
I don't know. Well, it sounds like a
um,
big deal. Like I think that's cool. Why didn't you go to the Mustangs game?
huh?
Why didn't you go to the Mustangs game where his parents threw out the first pitch or whatever?
This is tomorrow.
Oh, are you gonna
Oh.
go?
I'll probably go. Yeah.
Charge it to the podcast and report from the.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let's time out.
So Oren,
Business
number
expense.
one.
Oh, hold up. There's an expense
Number
account?
one.
I've been charging
No,
the
no,
podcast
there
this whole
isn't.
time.
Number one. Tickets to the St. Joseph Mustangs games cost $9. Number two. KQ2 has season tickets to the Mustangs, and I can just ask Lindsay to give me a ticket.
Lindsay.
And number three,
Will
I
Lindsay
could
give us a ticket?
probably, you guys come to St. Joe, come to the game. Number three, I could just flash my press badge to the teenager who's working the ticket counter. I could just show her that I'm a KQ2 employee, and I could just walk in. So,
I need footage of you now, like wearing a body cam, trying to just get in.
Do you know who I am?
yes,
Do you
yes.
know who I am?
Yes, I'm a local news reporter, Sam Rowe. And they'll say, who?
I like if you clip this episode 30 minutes ago, you would have said, as a known poor. Fast forward a half hour later, we're talking about I can get into any collegiate league baseball like I want to. Just throw your weight around.
Eric, number one.
Oh, God.
I just very nearly did a spit take.
Oh, man.
Number two, do you know how much journalists get paid?
A ton, I
It's
thought.
not that much.
Free Mustang tickets.
It's all about the
Yeah,
perks.
you're
It's all
rolling
about
in
the
it.
perks.
Yeah, it's those hidden benefits.
I get free Mustangs tickets and $5 copays for therapy appointments.
Hey. Well, as a Royals fan, you need them.
I do, especially considering what happened in the Royals Twins series, which Eric and I are currently talking about.
Oh, look at that wraparound. Actually, I don't have anything else to say other than it was a boring / really exciting series. The Twins are lucky that they've won 2 out of 3 of them. Easily, Kansas City could have won it. So that's all. That's all I had.
I found this stat while
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's any Jackson Jobe news. Noah Cameron is the second pitcher since 1893 with 6.1 plus innings pitched and 1 run or less in his first MLB starts.
Was the first one Rich Hill?
Yeah.
Probably. They don't know. They don't say.
You said
Fellow Royal.
1893?
1893 is the second one since then. So I don't know if there was someone in like the 30s and they're just going back to 93.
I got it. Jesse James was killed in 1882. I was about to say, if that, it's not the biggest. No, but 11 years apart. Never mind. Dang it. I really wanted that to be true. Shoot. Anyway.
Which is what someone did to Jesse James.
They did, and they made a performance. Could you get tickets to that?
Well, Eric, there's a lot of conspiracies about whether or not the Jesse James assassination was real.
Oh, God, tell me about it. Oh, God. Yes, it's real. Shot in the back of the head. They displayed his body.
He was. It was real.
Yeah.
Okay, am I the only one who doesn't know that much about Jesse James?
I don't either. I'm more of a Billy the Kid guy.
I mean, well, there's
Okay.
also pick a Wild West figure, and I guarantee there's some type of conspiracy of they didn't actually die.
Oh, yeah. I was never really into
Jesse
Wild
James.
West stuff.
Jesse James was an outlaw in Missouri, and he was living in St. Joseph when he was assassinated.
Real
That's about
scumbag,
it.
too. Like,
The only
not
thing
a
I know
great
about Jesse James is that they named Jesse and James in from Team Rocket in the Pokemon anime after Jesse James. That's all I know.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Anyway.
Well, prepare for trouble, and
It's
make it
funny.
double.
It's funny you guys call it St. Joe instead of it's short for St. Joseph, obviously, but it makes me think of like some saint that's like, hey, I'm Joe. I just talked to God.
I'm pretty sure there's a St. Joseph, Michigan, too. I mean, that's the same. You can say that
Oh,
about
yeah,
all
there
the
is.
Midwest states. Yeah.
There is, yeah.
Anyway, let's move on because now we're about to go into blasphemy. We thought we would just take a quick kind of like not even memory lane because it's not even really our memories. So we just wanted to talk about retired numbers because I think none of us know the other team's retired numbers. So I thought we could go through those quick. I don't think we need to list every one because the Tigers have been around for an eternity and they have quite a bit. Um, so I mean, we can pick highlights, lowlights, who maybe shouldn't have a retired number, who's maybe a little overrated. Yeah. Does anyone? I have the baseball reference page up. I'll show that up in a sec. But does anyone want to go first and really chant for their team?
I'll go. I'll go first, real quick, because
Kansas
this will
City.
be quick. Um, Royals have 3 retired numbers. They obviously have not been around as long as other teams in this division, and the 3 retired numbers are number 5 of George
Yep.
Brett, which is obvious. Number 10, which is Dick Hauser, who was not a player of the Royals. You're not going to find him by scrolling
Say, where
along
where
this
is this?
list of players. He was the Royals manager when
Oh,
they won the World Series in 1985. 2 years later, he passed away
oh,
of brain cancer. He was very short-lived Royals manager, but he passed away very quickly after the Royals won the World Series, and so they retired his number as a result of that. And then the last retired number is Frank White, who was the longtime Royals second baseman, and you'll
yeah.
find him after Alex Gordon on this top 24 all-time players, Eric.
Yeah, there he is.
Um, Played many years for the Royals. Won 8 Gold Gloves as the Royals' second baseman, and is really an all-time great Royal. I think that nowadays his stature as a Royal has kind of fallen a little bit because he is now the Jackson County executive,
Oh,
and he has become a Royal Stadium villain in the past couple of years, where a lot of people have not been a big fan of the way that he has acted during this whole Royals want a new stadium saga. So that's those are the Royals
interesting.
retired numbers.
Um,
Obviously, Jackie Robinson. I think that we can expect very soon in the future, we will see the number 4 of Alex Gordon retired by the
really?
Kansas City Royals. I do. I think so. I think they're going to retire number 4,
Hmm.
and I think we will also see number 13 retired by the Royals within the next couple of within the next 10 years or so after Salvi retires. But the reason I thought about this topic is that the Royals kind of have 2 interesting situations when it comes to future retired numbers.
Right.
And right now, the number 29 is no longer in circulation by the Royals. It's not retired, but they don't give it out anymore. And that number was worn by Dan Quisenberry
Mm-hmm.
and Mike Sweeney, 2 all-time Royals greats, obviously.
Yep.
And it's kind of a weird situation because you wouldn't maybe necessarily retire that number for one of them on their own, but the fact that both of them wore that number, it's kind of like, can you retire a number for 2 players?
Yeah, the
Can you
Hmm.
Yankees have.
retire number can you retire number 29 and just say this is for both Mike
Mm-hmm.
Sweeney and Dan Quisenberry?
I mean,
The
I
Yankees have
think
done it.
yeah, I was just gonna say the Yankees kind of doing
Yeah.
that.
Do it. They've done it with a couple players.
A different
Yeah.
sport, but the Lions have done that. Like,
I was thinking
Yes.
of Mariano Rivera. Who were you thinking of?
It's
Well, that's
Yogi
kind
Berra.
of different.
Well, Yogi Berra, and then the guy that played him immediately before Yogi was also a Yankees Hall of Famer, so they retired both of them together. It's like
I
a
did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that number 29 is no longer in circulation for the Royals. It's no longer given out, which I find interesting. So, along those lines, I want to suggest that the Royals also retire the number 6 because the number 6 was worn by both Willie Wilson and Lorenzo Cain.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them were center fielders for the Royals. Both of them are World Series winners. Both of them have great Royals careers. Both of them are very similar ish players. And to this year, on opening day, they both threw out a co first pitch.
Oh, that's fun.
And my friend David, who went to opening day with me, he's a Cardinals fan. He turned to me and he said, "Are those guys? Are they like father and son or something?" And I was just like, "No, no, they're just two Royals players who were center fielders
Mhm.
on the Royals World Series winning teams who happened to wear number 6."
Sure. So before we get off that, can we know, like, does Kyle Manzardo know who his dad is? Because I suspect that Dan Quisenberry may be in the running.
Probably more like a grandpa at this point.
That's probably not wrong. But
I like who's that 4 over from where you're at with those glasses? Those are what?
That's
Yeah.
Paul Splittorff.
I thought that was
That's Paul Splittorff.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, those are the
he-
Jeffrey Dahmer glasses.
So Paul Splittorff actually has a really sad story. Dennis
Oh.
Leonard too. There's some great mustaches on that list
there
right
is.
there. Paul Splittorff actually has a really sad story. He was a Royals pitcher mainly during the 70s, and he was a Royals like pregame announcer. He did like the pregame show for the Royals. And he was actually someone who lived in Kansas City like full time when he was with the Royals. He was a Royals broadcaster, and randomly during like 2011, they announced that he had cancer.
Oh.
And then like 2 weeks later, he died.
Oh.
So he was just continuing to work right up until he passed away. But he's someone who I have a lot of respect for because I always thought he was a great broadcaster for the Royals.
Yeah.
But he has a pretty sad story. And then also, I mean, those glasses. I mean, can we talk about the 1970s by just showing someone a picture of him?
That's all you need. I feel like
So-
every team had a couple of those guys with those glasses.
I have those
That's
glasses
just what
now.
everyone wore.
Yeah.
Like I watch Forensic Files a lot, but it's like mostly made in like the 90s or early 2000s, and it's like, but it's like everyone is wearing those glasses. Like no one had anything. No one had any fashion sense, I guess.
Yeah, but anyway, that's my suggestion for the Royals is retire both 29 and 6 and have it be co-retired numbers.
Yeah. Oh, I'd hear that. Oh my God, no.
I wish I still had the stash. I kind of do.
I was about to say, yeah, just got to grow it out again.
You just plucked him out of 1985.
Anyone want to go next?
I'll go because I have a few things I want to highlight /
Sure.
opinions I want to voice. Yeah, so Tigers have a little bit of a lot. In terms of we got Ty Cobb doesn't have a number. But all the top 5 guys in terms of WAR all have their numbers retired, which I think is nice in its own.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Jim Leland's was the most recent retired, and I want to talk about him because he's now kind of a little bit in the last year. So the date is August 3rd. His number is retired, and then in typical Jim Leland fashion, he goes to the Tigers dugout and says, "Go get an effing win."
Yep.
And the Tigers proceed to walk off the Royals in extras and win that game, and then they go 36-16 and make the playoffs. So it's a little. So now he's a little bit more in Tigers lore because of that. I mean, go to the dugout and go get a fucking win. They win, so that's very fun. Jack Morris, and in terms of so two that I really think I don't know why these are retired. Willie Horton and Jack Morris. I don't know if there's a story for Willie Horton because if you look at him, he's a good player, but he wasn't like that great. And I feel like they retired Jack Morris's number because he was the broadcaster with us for a while. He's if you go bottom right, second over, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Willie Horton isn't even on the top list here.
Sure.
Yes. So I don't know why Jack Morris. I feel like we retired because he was a broadcast for a while. He wasn't particularly.
He's in the
good.
Hall of Fame. Is the real.
Yeah, I guess, but we didn't retire his number when he went into the Hall of Fame. It was after.
I would argue that his most famous, it's not. I don't even think it's really an argument. I bet he's more known for his one season with the Twins than he is for his career.
Well, he was on the '84 Tigers, so he won the World Series with us.
I think of him as a twin.
Yeah, and he only played 1 year, and he opted out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I think it's fun that we've got two managers. They're Sparky Anderson and Jim Leland. They're both primary, mostly managers with us.
The world's youngest, pre-Kate Upton, Justin Verlander.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in terms of numbers, that's an old picture. I don't know why they're using. I don't know why that picture shows up for Verlander.
Look at that young man.
He's very dapper.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! Look at some of these guys in the black and white photos.
I was about to say,
Yeah,
this guy, this guy just chewing both lips like
that guy looks like if you were to see like a poster for a know the signs of a stroke PSA, like the way that like just one side of his face is completely different. He looks like he's about to have a stroke.
He looks like he's gonna spit out a hunk of tobacco, hit a home run, and then probably say 5 different slurs. So
you could really tell which generations went to war from these pictures.
Yeah,
the 1,000-yard stares and the black and white ones, and all the smiles and the colored ones.
I like a Hank Greenberg's. This looks very sad. Charlie Gehringer looks like he's gonna mess you up. But in terms of numbers, I think we'll be retired. I think Miggy, obviously. Yeah. We've joked for years. We know the exact spot on the wall that his number is going to go. Probably Verlander, if we're being honest, number 35. No one is currently wearing that number. Same for 24 for Miggy, obviously. I mean, it's just a matter of time for him. As soon as he gets in a Hall of Fame first ballot, his number's going on there. The statue is probably already in design. And then this is a little bit of an interesting one, but so we have Ernie Harwell on there. He was the Tigers radio/TV broadcast guy for like 30 years or something. I think one day Dan Dickerson is going to be on there. Sure. Dan Dickerson, he's the current radio guy. He's been there since 2000, I think, so 25 years now. I think he's going to join Ernie Harwell on the wall there for retired numbers / just honored other category that we have. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Tigers have a lot of retired numbers. I think a couple of them don't necessarily need to be on there, but if a hit, we've got a lot of really good players in history, over 100 years.
Yep.
So.
Coke bottle glasses, Sam? Are those your actual glasses, or just for the bit?
These are my backup glasses right here.
Okay.
So yeah, I have another pair of glasses that I wear to work most of the time. They're much smaller than this pair, but these are my backup pair of glasses that I just keep at home. So.
Very nice. I mean, Dan, you're missing the glasses.
If you have a pair of glasses, feel free to put them on.
This is
I'm
this
no
is your
four
moment.
eyes, people.
How dare you? How
This is
dare you?
Boo.
this is that moment where Dan has like a tiny little pair of like Harry Potter glasses that he puts on like while all of us are wearing our big like Coke bottle glasses.
Or he pulls out a pair of bifocals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I have a friend that owns a monocle, but I don't
There you
own
go.
any
Awesome.
glasses. So
I don't know. They
Give
still
it a
made
couple
my-
years, those will come back. Dan or Oren?
I'll
Let's go
take it.
over.
I'll take it.
Got it. And, oh, actually, I had them pulled up. All right, the Evil Empire. Here they are.
There they are. That's
Well,
them.
this is kind of sad, though. He's in a Cleveland hat. Oh, no, that's a Chicago hat. I'm an idiot. I'm dumb. Ignore me,
no,
everyone.
a lot of C's over the years. He might have played for at the time, whatever they were called at the time. He might have the Naps. I don't know. Nothing really.
Have you guys, by the way, I hate to interrupt you, Oren. Have you guys ever seen the clip of Luke Appling hitting the home run at the Old Timers game?
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah.
No, I don't think I have.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll look for it while you're.
Cool.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the guys that have played in our lives, the ones that at least I've watched on TV, got Knurko, Frank Thomas, Mark Burley. Those are really the only three. Harold Baines, his career overlapped with my life, but I was not cognizant for any of it. I guess if anything were to stand out here, Frank Thomas is already in the Hall of Fame. Paul Konerko, we love him. World Series hero, all that, nowhere near the Hall of Fame. Mark Burley, much more interesting case, and I know that's not really the topic of discussion here, but I really think Mark Burley should get in. He doesn't have very flashy numbers, but I think it was like 10 years straight of 200 innings. Just his innings pitched alone is so crazy to see, especially in this day and age. That's one of those things where it'll be. It wouldn't surprise me if that never happens again, just because of how pitching has changed. But obviously, he's loved on the South Side, loved in Chicago, another World Series hero. So I can't think of any guys that I think should be up there that aren't. And there's definitely no one on the team now that will ever get there. There's a few guys that have like played, a handful of games that you never know. Maybe they'll become a Hall of Famer with this.
You're not ready
other
to
team.
crown Chase Medroth yet?
Yeah, I think if anyone on this team gets into the Hall of Fame, and I would need to look at the ages again, but maybe Edgar Kiro, if either him or Mydroth have to be the favorites, just because based on how much they've played and in terms of relative favorites. I mean, no one's a favorite to get into the Hall of Fame anywhere near this team, but
No.
How much of the love for Mark Burley is the fact that he pitched a perfect game?
There's like a three-headed beast when it comes to Burley. It's the perfect game, it's the between the legs play, and it's the World Series coming back into pitch after he was like drinking beers in the clubhouse. Those very emblematic of Chicago, South Side, blue collar kind of grinder type ball. But that's a huge part of it. I mean, that's one of the reasons his legacy is so interesting, and that his Hall of Fame case is so interesting, because his numbers are borderline. He had some great moments, and it's such a unique baseball reference page. There are definitely much better pitchers you can find than Mark Burley, but it's tough to find a page that looks like this one, with the innings pitched and the consistency and the health every single year. It's insane.
I didn't realize he had that strong of a case.
Yeah, and I think
Is he still on the ballot?
I don't think he is. I think one day maybe he'll get in on like a veterans committee thing.
Right.
But at the very least, that's kind of the more interesting parts. And then there's a bunch of guys from back in the day that none of us saw. So it's like, who cares?
Who's that guy on the bottom, on the right, the second with the big, no left of him? What's his face
Nelly
doing there?
Fox.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah,
not
they're-
retired. I think he's in the Hall of Fame only because he was, yeah, he is. Because before sabermetrics were around, he probably has a high batting average or something.
288.
For career.
2,500 hits is probably what got him in. Bunch of runs. Interesting. All right.
There's one guy that I'm surprised not to see on there. Maybe he didn't play for the White Sox long enough, but Eddie Collins, very old-timey guy, definitely played for other teams, so I don't know what what portion of his career, what percentage of it was with the White Sox. But I went back and looked through his baseball reference page the other day, and he was a absolute monster. So I'm not sure why they don't have him retired. We'll see here. I guess I'd assume it's because he didn't play enough with the White Sox.
Oh, yeah, 100. Well, who is he? Philadelphia. Oh, he
was with the
played
White
20
Sox
with
for
the
a
White
lot.
Sox. He played 12 years.
Yeah, and look at his WAR by each year. He was an insane player
Like a
back in
nine
that.
spot.
I mean, his best years weren't with Chicago, but he was still really good in Chicago.
Yeah,
MVP
so it's
runners-up.
I mean, maybe it's just too late at this point, but I feel like he deserves it. Right?
Nicknames
Eric-
cocky.
That was exactly what I was just about to say. Eric, his nickname is Hockey.
Can't hate it. Why am
I mean, he should be. Look at his numbers,
Yeah, it's nuts.
and he's my height.
see?
Hey,
impossible
don't
can
get cocky.
But
God, Dan, how you feeling about who's in Cleveland? I don't even really know.
So, I am a man of history, so we are going to dwell on the old timers here for a second.
Bring it on.
We'll start with number 3, Earl Averill, who was essentially the Indians, Cleveland's offensive leader in most things until the 90s.
Left,
is the best way I would describe
left,
First
up,
guy.
left.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Here
there
it is.
you go.
Got
There
it.
she is. All right. And still is the team all-time leader in runs scored and RBI to this day, and is like top 6 in most categories overall with a lot of the guys from the 90s. Somebody Jose Ramirez will be chasing in a lot of categories in the next few years. But yeah, Averill, in the time in the 30s when offense was up, he was the premier offensive player on the Indians. Him and Hal Trosky put together a pretty good offensive team that just could never get over the hump at that point in time. Next, number 5, Lou Boudreau, Indian shortstop in the 40s and 50s. Also, player manager at the time. He was a player manager at like 25 years old, super young, and was the manager of the Indians the last time they won the World Series. So, strong defensive shortstop, good hitter as well. I believe he led the league in WAR at least once. And so, good ball player. But probably the biggest thing was being the manager of the 1984 team. Or, I'm sorry, 1948 team that won the World Series. Next up is number 14, Larry Doby. Larry Doby has the distinction of being the first African-American player to play in the American League.
Yep.
And also was quite good. I believe he was a 6-time All-Star.
No, center fielder.
We have a Larry Doby Day here in Cleveland. I kind of lament the fact that that isn't a league-wide thing. But, he quality ball player as well as incredibly impactful to the history of the sport. The next 3 guys I'll kind of take in tandem because they're 3 pitchers that all pitched at about the same time and were of similar ilk. The headliner of them is number 19, Bob Feller, who for a long time was, probably the most famous Cleveland Indian of all. As a young phenom pitcher that came up in the 30s and was one of the best pitchers in baseball whenever he wasn't serving his country during World War II. Also was on the World Series team along with one of his teammates, which was Bob Lemon, number 21. Those 2 guys plus Mel Harder, 3 pitchers from years past that were have their numbers retired, number 18, number 19, and number 21. Between them is Frank Robinson, who Hall of Fame player, was not particularly good in his short time as a baseball player for the Cleveland Indians. However, has the distinction of being the first African American manager in the history of the sport.
Oh, sure.
He was also a player manager, and in that first game that he managed as the for the Indians, he hit a home run. So that's kind of his big moment here with the organization. And again, another guy that was super impactful to the sport at large. Was a manager for a really long time too. He was a manager still. He managed the Indians in the 70s. He was a manager in the 2000s for the Nationals, if I'm not mistaken. So, longtime baseball man. And then last up, I had to talk about the old timers because there's only one new timer here. And that's Jim Thome, number 25. Hall of Fame first baseman / third baseman originally when he came up, and is, Indians all-time leader in home runs, hit 612 in total as a major leaguer, and is the one individual from the 90s teams that has made the Hall of Fame. I should rephrase that because like Eddie Murray did as well. But the one guy that was like homegrown in the 90s that made the Hall of Fame. So played for the Indians for 12 years in total, if you count the trade in 2011 where he had ended the season with the team. And is probably a big reason in why I'm an Indians fan / Guardians fan today. So those are the Indians' current / Guardians' current retired numbers. The one I'm going to contribute for future is obvious. It's Jose Ramirez. I think he could retire tomorrow and his number would be retired. Beyond that, we'll see, but definitely Jose. Probably a statue in his future, given the commitment he's made to the organization and wanting to be here, which I can't emphasize enough. We talk a lot about payroll and free agency and all that, and he made the point that he wanted to stay here. Mm-hmm. And even here in Cleveland, I don't think that gets talked about enough.
Right. How competitive would Cleveland be if he has not been in that lineup the last 5 years?
Yeah, he's always been the most consistent.
Remember when Yadier Molina left the Cardinals and they immediately became like a last place team?
That's probably a good comparison.
Can I ask about the fans' 5,855 sellouts?
Yeah. Absolutely. I should have talked about that. So in the 90s, the Indians broke the record for the most sold out games in a row. It was like, I forget the exact date, but sometime in June of 1995 through 2001, they sold out every home game.
Wow.
And that was at a time when the attendance of Jacobs Field at the time was several thousand more than it is now. It was 43,000. There's a lot that went into that, and not all of it's the Browns not existing probably helped. But it was also the best stretch of Indians baseball and potentially the history of the team too. So, and brand new ballpark. But yeah, that was the record for some time until the Red Sox broke it during the late 2000s. So that was a tribute that was done to the fans. 455 straight sellouts.
That's really cool, actually. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Do you think that Vizquel and Alomar would be on there if it wasn't for their post career?
Vizquel, yes. I think that's fair. Because I think of one, in order to have your number retired, I think one, you got to be prolific for the team, or you have to do something super impactful like Robinson did, or you need to be on the team for a long period of time. And Vizquel checks both those boxes. I really, really, really wish he hadn't done the allegedly foul things he did in his career, after his career.
He was one of my favorite players ever.
I love the argument of he's a Hall of Famer, but he's not. He's precluded because of what happened, in my opinion. And it goes to Burley. I think guys that are different in some form or fashion. Burley was a soft tossing left-handed pitcher. That to me is more memorable than another right-handed guy that was just really good for a really long time.
Mhm.
Same thing with Vizquel, where it was his defense. He could amaze you on any night with his plays. Anyway, that tangent aside, I think Vizquel would be. Alomar, I just don't think he played here long enough, to be honest with you. It was only 4 years, I think. So I just don't. He was a great ball player when he was here, but I think it's more so he just didn't put in the time in Cleveland to warrant that.
How many years was Manny on Cleveland?
He was here 7 years, 8 years, so kind of long enough. But I think there's just a little bit of. He was inducted into the team's Ring of Honor or whatever they call it. I forget what we call it here, but that was done last year. But he hasn't had his number retired. Again, I just don't think he was here long enough. The other one that kind of surprises me is Kenny Lofton, who, by the way, should be a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
But of those guys from the 90s, he would be the one that I think should be number retired, if anybody.
I'm glad you brought him up because I knew he was a journeyman, but I didn't realize he was Cleveland forever and then 1 year with literally everyone else.
Yeah.
Cleveland on 3 separate occasions, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 years in Cleveland and was arguably one of the best players in baseball for a good portion of that.
He's had some controversy too, though, right?
Has he?
Not that I'm aware of.
He's no longer in MLB The Show because of it, but I don't know what happened.
Oh.
How was he not signed to a longer-term contract? It looks like it's a bunch of one-year deals. It feels like that's the kind of guy that you think would have gotten signed up for longer.
Yeah. I mean,
Stuff happens, I guess.
And the thing was with Lofton, every team he went to, and there might be one counterexample, most of the teams he went to made the playoffs.
yeah.
He sent sexually explicit photos to a bunch of women in his company.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No.
This was in 2022, so it was recently.
I was
Yeah.
just about to say, in August 2022, Lofton was sued by a former employee of Lofton's investment company who claimed that he was fired by Lofton for complaining that Lofton had sent sexually explicit photos of himself to women in the company. That's according to Wikipedia.
Wonderful.
Well, then there's also Albert Bell, who is low-key very good for Cleveland, but he was also kind of just like, I don't think he did anything
But you know what?
bad other than just
Compared to some of these other guys, Albert Bell was just a grumpy guy.
Yeah,
He was just an a-hole.
Yeah, just a grumpy.
He just
a
punched
grumpy
a second baseman. Like, that's fine.
I'm sorry for the tangent, but he was on the Chris Rose rotation sometime in the last year or so. And Chris Rose asked him about, like, so if you wouldn't have been a ball player, what do you think you would have done? And Albert Bell goes, well, I always really liked numbers. I think I could have maybe been like an accountant or something.
Okay.
And my vision of like Albert Bell in a cubicle crunching some numbers, it's just hilarious to me. Like,
That's funny.
yeah,
It's a little
It's
bit like a Mr. Incredible when he goes undercover or like
Yes.
under hiding. Yeah.
It's crazy to me how many of those Indians and Guardians players also played for the White Sox that are in their, like Larry Doby, Jim Thome, Omar Vizquel, Albert Bell, Roberto Alomar,
Shoeless Joe.
Manny Ramirez played for the White Sox a little bit. Like, the White Sox Cleveland overlap is just so much, and I get that they've been around for so long, but it's like still kind of blows my mind. We always get them like 5 years after they're good.
one more guy from the 90s that could have his number retired someday, Sandy Alomar, 15.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
In
Also
part
played
because
for the
he
White
played,
Sox.
also played for the White Sox. In part because of his play, but also he's been our first base coach for quite a while now. And I feel like has maybe turned down managing opportunities just to stay in the organization. So
That's
I don't know how many first base coaches get their numbers retired, but it's I could see like a lifetime achievement award type thing where he's been with the team for so long that that might be in his future.
This is going back to Albert Bell, but the reason his number isn't retired is because he was the benefit of that break-in where they stole his bat from the umpire, where a pitcher stole the bat from the umpire.
I don't
my
think it's
God,
that.
but the guys went through the air conditioning duct.
Yeah.
Also happened in Chicago. Jason
Yeah,
Grimsley
yeah.
when
Oh, of
he
course.
replaced the bat. No, I think Bell was the first player to leave in the 90s, and this was back when fans had a much different opinion of free agents leaving in the offseason. I think it's that. I also think he just, with all the grumpiness, if you will, I think the organization was a little relieved to see him go at that point.
Yeah.
But he does have a positive relationship with the team now. He's been to spring training a number of times, so it's not all bad. But length of the time he was with the team and the complicatedness of his time here probably has more to do with it than anything.
Okay. Well, I think I'll move on to the Twins, unless you had anyone else you wanted to highlight, Dan.
I'm a little bit, and now that I think about it, I'm a little bit disappointed in all the foul things that the '90s Indians have done. But beyond that, thank you.
You got to go take a shower after this. You feel so dirty.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Trust me, I'll feel the same way in about 20 years about this era of the Chiefs.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So for the Twins, they have it's not a complicated history. They just have a weird one because they're half Washington Senators, half Minnesota Twins. The Senators had Walter Johnson, who didn't have a number, but he's going to be by far the greatest player in franchise history if you choose to believe the Twins are the same thing as the Senators. But the numbers you would retire for the Twins are the ones that you would expect. Harmon Killebrew, all-time great slugger. Joe Mauer just got in the Hall of Fame, 3-time batting champion as a catcher. People can debate if he should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer or not. He's still in. I don't particularly care if you're on the first ballot or the 10th ballot. You're still you're still going in the same room in the Hall of Fame. Pretty much for the Twins, they have a pretty high bar to retire the number, so do all the other teams. I'm not trying to say they don't, but there's really only 2 players that are not in the Hall of Fame that have their number retired. One was Kent Herbeck, who was a World Series hero, also has never pulled a person off of the bag once. I don't care what you say. It's blasphemy. He had a really nice, I think he was, where's Kent? He has to be up here somewhere. But I'll just click on his page. He was a good, solid first baseman, especially in like the 80s, early 90s. He retired, I believe, in 94 was his last season. He wasn't, in the 80s, it was a lot of pitching and defense, and he was a slap hitter for the Twins. And then Tom Kelly he won 2 World Series titles with them. He did so in his first year and then his 4th year, and then don't look up the rest of his career with the Twins because the 90s were not kind to the Minnesota Twins at all. As far as like who's going to get their number retired next, it's going to be a minute. You can if whoever is going to get their number retired next, they will be in the Hall of Fame. So then you have to look at who's going to clear that bar. Yoan Santana is already off the ballot, but I could see him getting in like a one of those Veterans Committee things. He had probably the best peak of any pitcher in the 2010s. He had like a 3-year span. He should have done a clean sweep with the ERA title and just with the Cy Young. I mean, after that, it's really, I don't want to say no hope. If I want to give a controversial take, Kirby Puckett should have his number retired. He should be in the Hall of Fame, but he really didn't have. He should be much more of a borderline Hall of Fame player than a rubber stamp like this is the greatest of all time. He got in because he got hit in the face with a pitch and had to retire like the next year. He got glaucoma is what I think did him in, and then he ended up dying early. But not nice things have come out about Kirby since the 90s, but when you think of the Minnesota Twins, it's Kirby Puckett.
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever told you guys the story of the time my parents met Kirby Puckett?
Oh no.
What? Oh, please.
Do I want to know this?
This is a kind of odd story, but my parents in the 90s, before me or my sisters were born, had gone to a Royals game the night before against the Minnesota Twins. And it was like a weekend series. They went to like a Friday night game or whatever. And then the next day, they went to a mall in the Kansas City area to do some shopping. And as they were walking up to the mall, Kirby Puckett was standing like on the curb
Mhm.
outside the mall, like waiting to get picked up.
Oh.
And my mom went up to him and like started talking to him and was like, hey, I'm a big baseball fan, like blah blah blah. And apparently Kirby Puckett said to my mom, "How do you know who I am?"
Okay.
And my mom said, "You're Kirby Puckett."
Right.
Like
We
everyone
know.
knows who you are. Like it's not like he was some unknown,
Right.
and it's not like like he's a distinctive looking guy,
Yes.
like people would have known who he was. Um so my dad had the ticket stubs
Hmm.
from the previous night's game, just like in his wallet. And Kirby Puckett signed them for them.
Oh.
Um, and so yeah, my parents have two Royals Cotton Stadium ticket stubs signed by Kirby Puckett
Kirby
because
Puckett.
they
That's
ran
awesome.
into him. They ran into him at the mall.
I'll take a picture of it. I have a. I went through a phase where I wanted to collect autograph like baseball cards, and then so I tried collecting the two World Series teams. I got the '87 team done, so I do have a Kirby Puckett autograph, and then like obviously like all of them, but it's in the display, and I don't feel like getting it out right now because I'm lazy. Not that it's all that interesting. It's a card with a signature.
Wait, we got to do that another day because I have so many good, like, from the division jersey and bat and autograph
No.
card.
Nice.
Deal. We'll write it down.
Show
And
and tell. Show and tell is a good future subtopic.
I've got like nothing. I've got this bobblehead.
It's a nice
Something. It's something.
But I think we'll go off a memory lane, and then we'll go over the schedule, and we got to do predictions because we're at the 2 hour 15 mark. So going on, we're just gonna start with the Tigers. They play Kansas City starting tomorrow for Friday, and then go right into the White Sox, and then go to the Cubs. Guardians touring LA, going across country. That's a brutal travel.
No. We're at home. We're at home.
It's at home. Okay. So Angels, Yankees, then Astros. Okay. Twins are playing the Mariners. That's going to be a very tough series, especially if Buxton and Wallner do not get back. The A's have not been playing well, so this is a perfect time to play Kansas or Oakland, and then they go to the Blue Jays. The Royals go to Detroit, play their favorite team in the St. Louis Cardinals, and then finish up the White Sox on the 6th and the 7th. The White Sox have Baltimore, who I still don't think are playing particularly well, then Detroit, and then Kansas City. So those are the schedules. So we have a couple predictions we need to make. Sorry for this blinding band of green, but I thought I was being helpful when I ramp this up. For standings, everyone's tied for. Dan is in the lead with 9 correct series predictions, and everyone else is tied for last place with 7. I could choose to say we're all tied for second, but we're all tied for last. So with that, Lee, who do you have? Detroit for Kansas City?
I'm gonna go Detroit for this one. I think Kansas City cannot hit right now. Tigers can. I think they're either going to
Right
get a little
now.
bit at all in general. I think they're either going to score a little bit on the starting pitching or just get to the bullpen. But Kansas City is unable to hit anything right now. I'm being generous. Trying to be nice. Is it showing?
Just barely. Fake hubris is not appreciated.
Well, then I
Uh,
won't freak
uh,
out about that.
a woman I work with recently said that I'm the most cynical person she's ever met. So
Oren?
Detroit and Kansas City.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll take Detroit.
Any reason, or you just
I just think that's what's going to happen.
fair enough? Sam?
The Tigers are the best team in baseball. So
This
I'm going to
feels
go
wrong.
with Detroit.
Okay,
I
can
was
we?
going to go to the game on Friday, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. So the Royals will have some advantage because I'm bad luck.
Could we stop saying the Tigers are the best team in baseball? Because I feel like it's just a jinx waiting to happen, and I don't
That's
like
fine.
it.
That's what it's like anytime.
They're
it's
the best team.
in
They are
baseball.
the best
No,
team
they're
in
not. They're
baseball.
not. They're
My goodness.
they're
They're
underrated.
so
They're going
great.
to come out of
Oh
nowhere.
my goodness. Fantastic. 10 out of 10.
Could
Detroit
you dare
Tigers.
say they're the best team of the millennium so far? Is
I
that a
mean,
stretch yet?
I mean,
said anything. I knew
they're
it
going to
would
win the
happen.
World Series.
Stop it. Stop it. No, I've seen this happen. I don't know. I don't want to see it anymore.
Dan?
That was a mistake.
The Tigers are the best team in baseball. They win the series. We tried to slow them down, guys, but the Giants messed it up. So, don't know what to tell you.
We had a rally squirrel that helped us. So
I mean,
You
Detroit
don't-
is the best team in baseball. Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball with a for sure healthy shoulder at all times.
He will
Why
not
would you
have
say
any
that?
injuries whatsoever.
what is wrong with you?
I
You
actually
are a
almost
monster.
asked about his injury history earlier, but I really did not want to be like anyone to jinx anything.
Jack Flaherty, I'm sure, is feeling all right and loose. Everything's just coming up roses for the old Detroit Tigers.
I hate all of you. You guys are awful. I should have
Next.
just kept my mouth shut.
Next up, Detroit, the best team in baseball. Plays the Chicago White Sox.
I'm gonna say Detroit again. I think we're not gonna sweep though. It's a 4-game series. Chicago's gonna get one though.
Lauren?
I think we get 3. Chicago.
Ooh, yes.
Ooh.
Sox
Love
and
it.
3. Sox and 3.
So is this where we revert? So the White Sox are no longer the worst team in baseball, playing the best team in baseball.
No, we're on the upswing, dude. Have you not noticed?
They're playing
Yeah, they're doing decent.
they've been at 4-6
man.
for a minute now.
Have they played the Orioles yet? Because then we could really find out who's the worst team in the American League.
We are
I feel like the
trending
Orioles-
hard. We beat the Mets today. The Mets.
Nice,
There you go.
but they're not as good as the Tigers.
No, they're no Tigers, but the Mets are, they're all right.
Sam.
This is a 4-game series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, recently the Rockies beat the Yankees.
Yes.
And the Yankees famously are the second best team in baseball. And the Rockies are the worst team in baseball. So I believe that the second worst team in baseball will be able to muster a series split against the
you
best team in
suck.
baseball.
Oh,
Sam. I'm so confident you were going for that.
you're in the wrong box.
Oh
my God, he deked you into the
God
next
dang
box.
it, Sam. Oh, you suck.
He got ya.
You absolutely suck. Dan, who are you picking?
I really, really, really want to pick Chicago. I really, really do.
I dare
Yes,
you.
continue to underestimate the Tigers. That works out. That'll
But
do
I can't bring myself to do it against the best team in baseball. So I'm going to pick a split here. Let's go split.
God, stop doing that to me.
You just gotta wait longer to start typing.
No, this is a you problem, not a me problem. It's a me problem. I mean, I think it's. I can't see this splitting. I'm gonna go Detroit with the best pitching staff in baseball. With probably.
it.
And the best team in baseball as well, Eric. Would you agree?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it might be a bit of a debate, but I think we can safely say that they're the best team in baseball.
You guys are the worst. Did you know that? I'm just
You know-
letting you know.
They didn't beat the Dodgers.
That's true. We didn't beat the Dodgers for not the best team in baseball. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball.
Are the Dodgers playing baseball? Or are they just playing the who can spend the most money game.
They're winning
They
both.
kind of are actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
both.
like
They do
I
both
think
very well.
I think they're playing the net worth game, and the Dodgers, might not actually be in contention for best team in baseball, which of course the Tigers are.
This. You know what the episode title is going to be, right? Like,
Yeah, I can tell. I shouldn't have said anything. That was a mistake.
So
Which is funny because we spend a lot of time talking about how they lost 3 of 4 to Cleveland.
Yeah, they lost
This
3
is
out of
true.
4 to the Guardians. They can't be the best. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Guardians, who aren't even leading their division, and they're tied with the Twins. So we should talk more about that. How
Having been out of town for a week, I listened to your news, which you read like a mortician, and then you said, "And we went 4-3." And I was like,
No, you
I
saw.
get really good teams. Like
I was like,
yeah, but you're still 6 games back. They didn't get you anywhere. So
it was like, maybe this was just in our Discord channel, but maybe it was on a show when you were going off on Kenta Maeda and how much you didn't like him. And in the back of my mind, I remember thinking, I wish the worst part of the Twins was their mop up guy. Like, I wish that was the real problem with the Twins. So you've been spoiled this year. What can I say?
this year I have been. It's been very. I haven't watched a team this good. Statistically, this team has not started off. The Tigers have not had this good of a start since 2006, and I was not paying attention to baseball then because I was 4. So
Fair enough. Well, on that note, we will leave Lee in the best team in baseball, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you all for listening.